Welcome to What Do We Need to Know? A message for the collective, titled When Love Asks Us to Heal First, a tarot reflection on trust, transformation, and new beginnings. Sometimes a tarot reading isn't about predicting the future. Sometimes it's a mirror, revealing the emotional landscape we are navigating and inviting us to grow into the version of ourselves that is ready to receive what we desire. This week's spread unfolded like a story of awakening, transformation, courage, and ultimately hope. Whether you're thinking about a romantic connection, rebuilding trust, or simply learning to open your heart again, perhaps you'll find pieces of your own journey reflected here. Judgment, the awakening. The reading begins with Judgment, a card of awakening and clarity. Before any relationship can deepen, something within us must first wake up. We begin seeing ourselves, our patterns, and our desires more honestly. We recognize what we've learned from our past and what we're no longer willing to carry forward. Awakening is rarely comfortable, but it's always necessary. Death, transformation. Following awakening comes death. Despite its intimidating name, this card speaks of endings that create space for new beginnings. Old fears, outdated beliefs, and emotional baggage cannot accompany us into the next chapter. Transformation asks us to release who we were so we can become who we're meant to be. Every meaningful connection requires this kind of evolution. Queen of Wands, confidence and courage. The Queen of Wands reminds us to embody confidence without needing constant reassurance. She knows her worth, she leads with authenticity, she doesn't chase validation because she understands her own light. Relationships flourish when we remember that confidence isn't about perfection, it's about trusting ourselves enough to be seen. Four of Wands, harmony and home. The Four of Wands brings beautiful energy of celebration, stability, belonging, and emotional harmony. This card reminds us that healthy love should feel safe. It should feel like coming home to yourself while sharing that peace with another person. Rather than forcing outcomes, we're invited to build connections that are rooted in mutual respect, joy, and reciprocity. The Fool, choosing faith. Then comes the Fool. Every relationship asks us to take a leap into the unknown. There are no guarantees. We cannot love while demanding certainty first. The Fool teaches that vulnerability isn't weakness, it's courage. Sometimes trusting the journey is the greatest act of faith we can offer ourselves. Ten of Swords, healing fear. Immediately following that leap appears the Ten of Swords, revealing the fears many of us quietly carry. Fear of betrayal, fear of rejection, fear of history repeating itself. These fears often whisper that protecting ourselves is safer than opening our hearts. But the Ten of Swords also reminds us that painful endings eventually become the soil where healing begins. Our past doesn't have to dictate our future. The Emperor, stability. After fear comes the Emperor. This energy represents emotional maturity, healthy boundaries, and stability. Healing isn't just emotional, it requires structure. When we learn to regulate ourselves instead of reacting from old wounds, we become capable of creating relationships built on consistency instead of uncertainty. Eight of Pentacles, the work. The Eight of Pentacles reminds us that meaningful relationships are built, not stumbled into. Trust requires effort. Communication requires effort. Healing requires effort. Love isn't only a feeling, it's a practice. Every conversation, every act of honesty, every moment of choosing understanding over assumption becomes another brick in the foundation. Page of Pentacles, new possibilities. The Page of Pentacles carries the energy of fresh beginnings and intentional growth. Sometimes love begins quietly, not through grand gestures, but through consistent actions, curiosity, and a willingness to learn each other one step at a time. Patience often becomes one of our greatest teachers. Six of Cups, joy and familiarity. I'm sorry if I said that wrong. The Six of Cups softens the reading with warmth. This card reminds us that genuine connection often feels familiar. It invites innocence, kindness, emotional safety, and simple joy. Healthy relationships allows us to reconnect with the parts of ourselves that still believe in love despite everything we've experienced. Page of Wands, freedom. The Page of Wands encourages us to approach life with openness and excitement again. Healing doesn't mean becoming guarded forever. It means learning to remain hopeful without abandoning discernment. Curiosity creates movement. Joy creates momentum. Freedom comes when we stop allowing fear to define every possibility. The Sun, all is well. The reading concludes with the Sun, one of the most uplifting cards in the tarot. After the awakening, after the transformation, after the fears, after the work, the Sun reminds us that clarity eventually arrives. Growth bears fruit, hope returns. Whatever unfolds, we are capable of meeting it with authenticity, confidence, and an open heart. Overall energy, Eight of Swords. The overall energy of the spread is the Eight of Swords. This card suggests that many of the limitations we experience are created by fear rather than reality itself. Fear of being hurt, fear of trusting, fear of loss, fear of repeating old stories. Yet the Eight of Swords also carries hope because its prison isn't locked. The path forward begins the moment we question the beliefs that keeps us emotionally trapped. As I reflected on this reading, I couldn't help but notice what follows this card in the tarot's progression. The Nine of Swords, followed by the Lovers, and the Ace of Cups. To me, this sequence serves as a reminder that fear is not the end of the story. When we face our anxieties, instead of allowing them to lead us, we create space for authentic connection, conscious choice, and new emotional beginnings. Whether this reading resonates with a specific relationship or simply reflects your own inner journey, its message feels beautifully clear. Awaken, transform, trust yourself, do the inner work, choose courage over fear, build what is healthy. Allow yourself to believe that not every ending predicts another heartbreak. Sometimes the greatest love story begins the moment we stop letting yesterday write tomorrow. May this reading remind you that healing and love are not opposing forces. They're companions walking the same path. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you guys in the next one.